Cycle 2, Week 7. I'm going to tell you everything I'm doing for this week, and I will give you the order that I'm going in because it matters just a little bit for the activities that we'll be doing. I keep forgetting to share my rewards for each week, but I'm doing a pumpkin patch chart this week. So this actually has little pumpkins that you stick on here, and I messed them up when I was trying to laminate them. So I have to reprint them and do it, but I'm gonna do pumpkin patch, and they just stick the pumpkins on every time. Like if we finish geography, I'll draw a name and ask them to go put a pumpkin on our chart. And at the end, I might have like those little marshmallow pumpkins. Do you know what I'm talking about? They're not marshmallow. They're like candy corn kind of, but they're just little pumpkins. So I may get a bag of those and give everybody a pumpkin at the end of class, or just let them, there's a little treasure box that our campus has, so I may just let them pick something out of our treasure box. But we are going to start with timeline this week, so I will hide all of the cards around the room, and then I will play the timeline music, and they'll all go and search for the cards. So after we've found them all, we will have listened to it a couple of times. So now I'll go through the motions with them. Motions, we start with Jesus the Messiah. So you'll just touch your middle finger to each palm. Jesus the Messiah, and then make an M. And we're going to sign King, but we're using our M for Messiah. And then just praise, hands for Jesus. There's cheering in the song. And then year 1 AD. Next is Pentecost in the early church. So we have the flaming tongues. So we're going to touch our tongue at Pentecost, and then the flames, like your flames that are going up. Pentecost and the early church. Just like temple is founded upon the rock, we're going to do a C for church. And then persecution spreads the gospel. So you take two fists and they're going to kind of go like they're going to punch each other, but miss. So persecution spreads the gospel. So it's like a book, like the Bible, and then you have your G, and you're just going to turn the pages. Spreads the gospel. Herod's temple destroyed. So we're going to sign Herod's temple destroyed by Titus. So we do a T for temple. Temple destroyed is like you crumple up a piece of paper, it's destroyed. And then another T for Titus. Diocletian divides the Roman Empire. So do an ASLD, Diocletian, and then stack your hands like this, how we've done before for divides, like when we did divides, Israel divides into two kingdoms. So Diocletian divides the Roman Empire. So you have your ASLR for Roman. And then Constantine legalizes Christianity. So do C for Constantine, and then Jesus for Christianity. And then India's Gupta dynasty, so dot on your forehead, and then we're going to do gold for the dynasty, so touch your ear like you have gold in it, and then like down like this for gold. Oh, wait, one more time for the timeline motions. Jesus the Messiah, year 1 AD. Pentecost and the early church. Persecution spreads the gospel. Herod's temple Herod's temple destroyed by Titus. Diocletian divides the Roman Empire. Constantine legalizes Christianity. India's Gupta dynasty. For geography this week, we have European peninsulas. So I'll start by asking them, what is a peninsula? It is a piece of land that has water on 3 sides. So whenever we're finding a peninsula, you're looking for a piece of land that has water on 3 sides. And so our first one is our Scandinavian peninsula. So first we're going to find the Baltic Sea and the North Sea. So I'll have them start by finding Our Lady with the Flute in our North Sea here. And I'll ask them if they can see a peninsula that's surrounded on 3 sides by the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. And it's going to be these 2 countries here. So we have Norway and Sweden. And we'll say this peninsula kind of looks like 2 fingers pointing down. So let's find 3 more peninsulas further south. So I'll have them color this whole area orange, and this is our Scandinavian peninsula. So moving down south, we will find Portugal and Spain. So these 2 countries also form a peninsula. So we'll say 1, 2, 3 sides of this are surrounded by water. And what 2 bodies of water surround the Iberian Peninsula? So we have the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea. So for the Apennine Peninsula, we're going to find the country that looks like a boot, which is Italy. And this is called the Apennine Peninsula because we have water surrounding all 3 sides of this piece of land here. And then moving over to our Balkan Peninsula, and I'll just point out to them, like when I heard Balkan Peninsula, I thought it was going to have something to do with the Baltic Sea, but it's not anywhere near the Baltic Sea. It's all the way down here in Greece. And so what body of water actually surrounds the Balkan Peninsula? And that is the Mediterranean Sea. And to move through these, we are going to use little turtles because we're talking about the land and the water, and turtles can walk on land and swim in waters. There is a really cute song that goes with this, and I'm going to link it for you below. It's from Happy Learning. Yes, Happy Learning. And so it goes to the tune of the Ants Go Marching. And so I'll link that for you below, but it goes, the Iberian Peninsula in Spain, the Balkan Peninsula in Greece, up to the Scandinavian, down to the Apennine in Italy, the boot. So after geography, I'll have them I always have them write their name on their map, and then they put their coloring supplies on top of their map, and I have them go set it on this little side table so that it just kind of saves time where I'm not having them go all the way back to their backpack and put things away. So they just kind of put it over to the side, and then at the end of class they'll gather their supplies and put them away. So after that, we'll move into math, and I made this chart last year. It's a little snake. This is just from a coloring book, like one of those jumbo coloring books where it was a snake. So I colored him and I cut him out and taped him on this poster board, and then I drew this other branch and just cut out these leaves from poster board and wrote all the numbers on them. So I'll have this displayed on the wall. So what I'm gonna do for this is just bring in a toy snake, like a little stuffed animal snake or a rubber snake, whatever we've got around here. And we're gonna play hide and go seek the snake. So I'll pick one student to go out into the hall, and that'll be the seeker. And then another student will take the snake and hide it somewhere in the room. And then, so everybody else in the classroom knows where the snake is, and they're not gonna tell the seeker, of course. So he's gonna come back in, and I'll start playing the 13 song. So we'll be singing through the 13s. And then whenever the seeker gets close to the snake, we start singing louder and louder. And then when he's far away, when he's cold, we'll sing softer. So I'll do that where we should be able to do it enough to where everybody gets a turn to either be the seeker or the hider of the snake. So that's all we're gonna do for the 13s. So next we're doing English, which is a more calm, sitting still activity. They're going to be writing out their English this week. So I have 2 charts that I can use. So the first one is, I just made these myself. I just wrote them out, where it can be used for any of these pronoun weeks. So it has first, second, third person, singular, and plural. So for this week, they would fill this out like my, your, his, her, its, our, your, their. And so I may have them fill this out initially, and then at the end of class I have this other one, which is a review of the last 1, 2, 3. So the last 3 weeks plus the new pronouns for this week, just to get them practicing writing those out. And the important thing to note about these, so like last week, in week 6, they had possessive pronouns, which were mine, yours, his, her, its, ours, yours, theirs. And so for those pronouns, you would say like, the bike is mine, or this bike is yours, or that bike is his. And for this week, these possessive pronoun adjectives function like adjectives, where they're going to go before the noun. So you would have to use these like, it's my ball, or it's my bike. My is describing whose bike it is. So they work in that adjective way. It's your bike. It's his bike. Instead of saying the bike is his. So I'll just point that out where they work in that adjective way, where you're going to find a noun after these. But they're going to write them out, and we'll go through them a few times. I have a song that will... Okay, the song I'm using is by Mary K. Bryant. So when you are trying to find these songs, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to go to the website right now and walk you through it. Go to this little tab here that says Connected, and you just kind of hover over it, and then go down to Foundation Learning Center. Then go to File Sharing. And here you can find all of the CC Connected stuff. So go to Cycle 2, select Week 7, English Grammar, Apply, and then the song I'm using is by Mary K. Bryant right here. So it's this one here. And so then you click on it, and look, it's downloading to my computer, and then I can use it in my class. For Latin, we're starting a new set of Latin endings. So we've got the perfect tense. So my little visual, I don't have it printed yet, but it's going to be a picture of Mary Poppins with her little umbrella, and we'll remember that these are this is perfect tense, and Mary Poppins is practically perfect in every way. And then for the Latin endings, it starts with E, like Mary. So that's how I'll introduce those, and I can link this. The image that I use is just off of Google Images, and I'll print it, cut it out real nice, and then put it on my board next to my Latin chart. And this is to the tune of Farmer in the Dell. So for our activity, I'm gonna bring in Mary Poppins bag, and so you could use like a black purse, or you could use a fun, like if you have a fun colored purse, any kind of bag. And you could even just do a paper bag and write Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. Or you could, let your kids color it and make it fun. But I'm gonna bring in a bag, and down in the bag I'm gonna throw in note cards that have each of these little endings written on them. And then after we've introduced it and sung it a couple of times, I'll set it in front of one of the students, and they'll reach in and grab one piece of paper, and then we will just on the floor in front of us, we'll try to put them in order as they grab it. So if they grab maybe like the fourth one, we'll sing through the song to help them, place it in the right order. So there'll be 6 of them, and they're just going to put them in order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in order of the correct endings. And so we'll do that this week and next week, and I will link my little image that I'm using that I'll cut out for my board. For science, we have 6 types of pollution. And the song that I'm using, I heard from another tutor. It's to the tune of Jack and Jill. Okay, here are the motions though that I'm gonna do. Noise, I'm gonna cover your ears for noise. Air, just like air. Water, just do rain. And then land, you can just like act like this is the land down below, or you could have them crouch down and touch the ground for land. Thermal, we're gonna be hot for thermal. And then radioactive, just explode like a bomb. So the song is to Jack and Jill. Okay, here's the song. The 6 forms of pollution are noise, air, and water. land and thermal, then there's radioactive. So, tune of Jack and Jill. I will try to find someone better that can sing it better than I do. Okay, the last thing we're gonna do in class is history. So I'm going to tape this on the inside of my door, church at Wittenberg, Germany. And then I will have, just in masking tape, I'll tape an X below it. And they're gonna pin the theses on the door. So they'll get in a line, and then I'll have a little sleep mask that I put on each of them, like one at a time. So I'll put it on one student, just like a little blindfold, and then I'll spin them around, and they're going to have to try to tape this on the X. And so I'll probably just have like a piece of sticky tack or tape on here where they can stick it on the door, and we'll play the song and everybody will sing while we play it. A simpler idea would be to bring in a guitar. I did this last year with my little ones and they loved it. It was so cute. I just put a chair in the middle of the room and I brought in an acoustic guitar, and they just sat there and kind of strummed on it, and then everybody just walked around them and sang the history song. Or you could bring in little plastic guitars from the Dollar Tree, or one little plastic guitar from the Dollar Tree if you don't have or don't want to fool with bringing a full acoustic guitar to class. But yeah, that's our activity, and I'm gonna do it last because it is probably gonna be the most like exciting, and it'll be a fun one to end the class with for everybody. So some resources for history that are really great this week. There is the timeline card. Timeline card 94 is all about the Protestant Reformation. Great info on the back as always. And then everything you need to know about history homework on page 79. There is a page on the Reformation. And then Story of the World, Volume 2, Chapter 34. It gives a great background on Luther's life that you don't get from these other resources. And the most in-depth resource that is also not just gonna have you sitting and reading for hours is a podcast episode from the Practice of Theology podcast, Season 1, Episode 4, The Life and Theology of Martin Luther. And so my husband actually hosts this podcast, and this past year he did a season on the Protestant Reformation, and so he does an episode on Martin Luther. There's also a really good episode on William Tyndale, which is cool, and actually this past week was the anniversary, I believe, of when William Tyndale was burned at the stake. So that's a good one to listen to, and then there's another one on John Calvin as well that goes along with all of this. And I mentioned the podcast not because it's something that you necessarily are going to want to listen to with your kids. There's nothing explicit in it or anything, but I just have learned a lot because he interviews professors and scholars and authors on these topics, and it answers the question, why is it worth our time to study these things today? Why is it important? And so I just wanted to share it because it talks about how does this person's ministry, how has it influenced and shaped our lives in the church today? And so it just has really been a helpful resource for me in preparing to teach on the Reformation, and just in my own personal life, it's been really helpful understanding, how does this person's work affect me today? So anyway, I'll link it down below. So the little historical snippet that I'm going to give my class, I'm going to talk about how at this time the Roman Catholic Church had a lot of political power and religious power. So by that I mean a pope could go to the king and tell him what to do, and often, a lot of the time, the king would obey the pope. So they had a lot of political sway, they had a lot of money, and there was some corruption. So one thing that the Roman Catholic Church was doing was they were saying, in order to be forgiven and in order to be justified for your sin, you could pay indulgences. So you could pay the church money to be forgiven and justified. And or you had to earn your forgiveness. So this was a big problem for Martin Luther. So I'm gonna tell them that people could pay the church to be forgiven of their sin and to be justified for sin. And Martin Luther had a big problem with that. And so I'm going to ask my class, what was the big deal? Why was that a problem? And we'll see if they know why he had a problem with that. And so I'm going to read to them Ephesians 2:8-9, which says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast." So do these verses say anything about paying money to a church in order to be justified for your sin or to be forgiven and saved? No. Justification is by faith through the grace of Jesus Christ. So that the Roman Catholic Church is saying one thing, but you can pay money, these indulgences, and the Bible is saying something else. And Martin Luther knew the Bible. He had studied the Bible. And so he knew that what they were doing was not what the Bible says. So he wrote up these 95 theses, or 95 points, and one of them was about the indulgences, the church selling indulgences to people for forgiveness. And so Martin Luther wrote up this document and he nailed it to the church door, and that caused the Pope to excommunicate him from the Catholic Church. And then Luther went into hiding, and he really could not be out in public anymore. He was called an outlaw. And while he was in hiding, he worked on translating the Bible into German, because Martin Luther was a German man. And so he worked on translating the Bible so that the people could understand the Bible, read it for themselves. So that's just a little snippet I'll give on Martin Luther. And like I said, the podcast is so good because it really talks about what his life was like before and after, like before his conversion, before he truly understood justification through faith, or justification by faith, versus how he had been previously trying to earn forgiveness. So I wrote on my little paper here, justification by faith alone, because that was like his big deal, the big deal with the 95 Theses. This was a huge deal for Martin Luther. And that's how we'll end our class. I'll put links to everything below. Please comment if there's something that I need to link or question or anything like that. Just shoot me a comment and I'll try to clear it up. Thank you.